Okay, we're streaming now. Counselors.
But if you upend the precautions and insert those at the beginning of the spitting snow, then you don't have to face it.
Surprise.
I'm gonna add that at the bottom.
He's might be there.
2-3 inches of
Sort of a city's in there.
I'm like, I hope, yeah.
Should be in there. He left your room, right? Were you going down tomorrow?
Tired.
Did I see you running on the Terry Gordon footpath?
That was, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I recognized.
Right underneath the overhang.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
my
so
God.
icy there.
What is this stack of nonsense?
Yeah,
I know.
That's cool.
If I try to just
Pony up and pay the bills.
Yeah, my daughter, I had just run into my daughter who regularly runs there too, and I told her to be careful. It is very cold in here. But, gee, the DPW does such a good job of clearing that so that,
Goes it.
it goes so well.
yeah, you just have to watch, be careful, you know.
It's a welcome relief compared to my office, which is like a blast furnace.
Oh, you're talking about this one.
My office is so warm. After my class this afternoon, I had 2 students come in to talk to me. They're sitting in my office and they're like, oh my God, I got to
That resolution.
Oh, fantastic. She's so good. She is awesome. Hi, how are you?
Thank you.
Hey, Mike.
How you doing?
Uh-oh. You got the footbridge full? I
You wearing green today. This is the last meeting.
don't know quite what to expect from you.
No, I don't feel like fighting.
Okay.
Ready when you are, boss man.
I do.
I feel like a little
I'd
kid.
like
I'm
to
like,
call the meeting of the City Infrastructure Committee to order. Roll call.
Counselor Moore?
Here.
Counselor Gibbs?
Here.
Mayor Reed? Counselor Armstrong?
Here.
Counselor Kelly?
Here.
Counselor Ensel?
Here.
Counselor McFarland?
Okay, well, at this time, I'd just like to remind everybody of our slight changes to format. We will be having a public input session at the beginning of this meeting.
There's so many people standing in line.
And also remind everyone that we are now going to just discuss moving items to the agenda, but not discussing the actual items, so the people who come to the regular meeting will hear all the comments. So, and to try to give us more time to deal with each individual committee. Okay, so right now we'll proceed to reports from department representatives with a discussion from councilors.
Yeah, I'm gonna start with this. Public Works. handed out a
Was this
brief-
one?
Yes, that's correct. I'll give you a quick overview. of what
Thank
we're
you.
looking at here. Seeing that Chamberlain's on vacation this week, I'd like to basically give you an update of where we stand. We're gonna have to pass a capital spending resolution or two here shortly, so we can move forward with our summer projects. Under item number 1, you'll see the street resurfacing projects that we have slated for this year. If you compare that with the capital plan, you'll notice that it is different by quite a bit. The only thing that is really consistent would be South Catherine Street, which is Perry Bridge to the Broad Street intersection, and the Clinton Street. We've since added Upper Cornelia, which is the town line, all the way down to the intersection of Broad, including Broad Street. You see Clinton, And we have Boynton and Miller, which are both our rail crossings here in the city. We'd like to try to work from the actual rail right away out. On Boynton, it would be from Rozier all the way to North Margaret. And on Miller Street, it would be from the railroad stop bar to railroad stop bar.
Mike, the Upper Cornelia Street project from the city limits to the point at Broad, because that is such a high traffic area, is that
Nighttime.
anticipated being done at night?
Both night and South, or both South Catherine and Upper Cornelia will be night.
And is that anticipated 2 days or 1 day?
You're probably looking at, from start to finish, you know, a lot will depend on weather. You know, the good news is because it's night work, we won't have problems competing with the county and towns for the asphalt plant. And then again, it's a coordination issue, just making sure we're ready for it.
Now, as far as having the access to the asphalt, I mean, is that plant open 24/7?
We'll have to pay a premium to open it. There's an upcharge to open it. But there's no way.
No, you can't do it during the day.
Those high volume streets, there's no way to do it. The good news is if you get lucky, we might be able to shorten up some durations working at night.
Thank you.
The second item for capital spending resolution is equipment purchases. If you were to compare this to what was proposed, we're basically swapping our 2020 request with the 2019 request with 2020 request. We need this equipment this year, and we can push off the other to the next year.
Back up just a moment, please, to the street resurfacing. I don't see Pine Street on there.
Yes, that is correct, sir.
What happened?
There's other things that need more attention. It comes down to dollars and cents, Counselor.
Yes.
Pine Street is kind of been tied in with the Saranac River Trail project.
Yes, I know.
Saranac River Trail is now we're waiting on permits, I guess, like we're being told. So Pine Street we'll have to patch that up unless we find some money in the short term, but, you know, like I said, Upper Cornelia Street really is.
Yes, I know.
Problems.
Okay.
Part of the other problem with Pine Street is if we do go ahead and resurface it, because the Saranac River Trail plans had already been developed to include Pine Street, we would then have to pay Stan's-Beck to redesign the plans to take that out, which would be an additional cost.
Is that expansion going to start in 2019?
I couldn't tell you that. Again, right now, it has a lot to do with the Saranac River cleanup and permitting.
Yes.
Army Corps and DEC both.
Arcadis just submitted to DEC for their bank restoration plan. That has to be approved by DEC before DEC is willing to approve our project. So it's kind of a wait on Arcadis, and we don't have any control over Arcadis.
You know, unfortunately with this plan is, there's still gonna be people that aren't gonna be happy. Obviously, we've gotta patch potholes, we gotta do a permanent fix to them, but we're not gonna get to every street that everyone wants. We have to get the bad ones.
Well, that one block section of Pine Street has been on your list for years, and it keeps getting put off because of the Saranac River Trail, and I understand that, but boy, it's getting to a point now where it's really terrible there. I mean, you got painfully aware of it, I know.
Yes, it's horrible, yes.
Yeah, so I would hope you could find some money to fix it. It's just a block, you know, and
Again, I would, you know, like Andrew said, you're gonna end up tearing out work that we put back in.
yes, I don't.
Tearing out work that we put in
Yes. I think that's probably the worst one block of any street in the city. It's hard to imagine anything worse than that.
There's some bad ones.
Yeah, you think there's worse ones?
South Catherine.
People call us daily and remind us.
Okay, well, if you find a few
Little stretch
dollars
of
laying
Beacon
around
Street.
and you can fix it this year, that would be
We were
awesome.
called to Colgan Avenue today, that's South Colgan's house, they live at the road there, so.
Okay,
And Colgan is another one of those projects that gets pushed.
yeah,
Yep.
That one got
Yep,
pushed
I remember
by the
that.
council.
I
You're right.
remember asking to push it.
you're right. Okay, well, thank you for that.
So that's what we have going on, and like I said, these are sort of priorities are been dictated by the severe weather we've had this winter. And like I said, if you were to compare the capital budget that you approved to what we have here, it doesn't match it. I'd say that right now. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrew now for items 2 and 3, which are the PSAP grant update and the Wilcox Dock payment status.
So the PSAP grant, we put together an RFP, sent that out to some of the engineering firms on the LDSA list. So we're looking to get some of their proposals back by March 25th, which would allow for us to award the design phase for April 1st in hopes of either a late fall construction or early spring construction for intersection of Glen and Prospect. Wilcox Dock, we're waiting on, OGS is doing some coordination with some of the other, the DEC and everything to get their permits straightened out. We're still hoping for May, mid-May opening. If not, it should be late May.
No questions on that. We'll move to item 4. These are miscellaneous items. The first item is the draftsperson. We spoke about this position in the DPW at budget time. We are approaching the end of the first quarter, and we are ready to move forward with this at the council's approval. The second item is laborer hiring and internal movement. We have advanced positions in DPW. These are all funded positions, so what we are is basically reshuffling in-house, and we would have to advertise for a laborer to backfill a vacancy that's created by Ford. We have advertised for seasonal temporaries. Those are the college kids, high school kids, retired corrections workers, what have you, to help us with our summer maintenance. But we now want to get applications in and get people lined up for these positions. The other item I know you spoke about, I think it was at the last meeting, was the test window for City Hall. That has been awarded, the purchase order has been written and signed. We're going to move forward with that. Go ahead with the rehab of a window. We're in the process of pursuing prices of a replica window and comparing both to see what we want to do and see what we got for us. The last item is the Empire State Trail, which some of you might be aware of or not aware of. We got approached a while back. The group came and visited us at DPW. I think there was 11 people in our office to discuss the Empire State Trail. This is something that Governor Cuomo wants. It's going to start basically on the Cherry Gordon bike path and go all the way to the north end of the city. What it encompasses, what's going to be required from us is allow them to install some signs, some pavement markings, and then we need to maintain it for them. So pavement markings are probably the biggest commitment on our end. We were able to convince them to resurface the Cherry Gordon bike path for us in the process, which is a good thing. And that would all be paid for by them. We're in the process of having Dean review a sample resolution, and once that's okay, a representative from its historic, its DOT or historic, State Historic Preservation will come up and speak to you all about it in better detail than I am. And then the last is number 5, is items we're working on, Protection Ave rehab. Again, it's a project where I know the MLD is working on moving the switchgear and transformers. And then we're going to look at hard surfacing and what that's going to cost us, and maybe try to get that done this year, or we're going to have to get it done this year if they tear up the road. Riley Ave is a section on the north end of the city that we need to replace water service, and we're going to put some pricing together for that, for funding. and investigate rehab of Walworth Street, which is down in the vicinity of Pine Street.
You
But
could
that
come
one
right
is-
around the block.
It's right around the block. That's probably worse than Pine Street. But that one in particular, we cannot use the procedure we are currently using to rehab some other roads. But we're going to investigate some other procedures, Mike, and see if we can
Yeah.
get something done there.
Did you know that procedure was used in the whole neighborhood there?
Yes.
Kevin Farrington reported that to us once, and that was how many years ago, do you know?
I'm not familiar with that. All of the documentation from the engineering department was held back from us.
Do you remember, Mike, when that was done?
No, I don't. I've never had access to it.
That'd be a pretty good testimonial to how long this method lasts, because roads down there have been pretty good, really, up until last couple of years.
10, 12, maybe, 10, 12 years.
10, yeah. Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Well, one more question for DPW. Do you know if the DEC inspects our bridges?
Our bridges?
DEC or DOT?
Well, either or both.
DEC doesn't inspect the bridges. I believe DOT inspects the big bridges, yes.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Pedestrian or
No.
vehicle?
Just the particular ones. You'll see them out there with a snooper truck, and I think there's a guy who runs around with him. You'll see him in the river also.
Okay, thank you very much for your report. I'm not sure how we want to handle these items now. If we want to handle them all as a group, to move them to the agenda, or if there's any, we just talk about the ones that we may have a particular issue, or do you have to read those?
You forgot one.
Outdoor seating you needed to discuss, did you?
Yeah, you didn't do number one.
Oh, I'm
1.1.
sorry, missed that. Yeah, we wanted to discuss the potential upcoming 2019 outdoor seating applications from restaurants. I believe the mayor had something to report on this.
You said you had something to report on the outdoor seating?
I don't know. You received it in your packet.
Yeah, it was in our email as a
So you
document.
need to,
It was very lengthy,
right.
but very comprehensive in terms of what was allowed, where outdoor seating could be, the documents that had to accompany it, and
And
It
any
must have been really
implications on the,
it came in with, oh God, I don't remember.
Tuesday, with your Tuesday.
Yeah, with the Tuesday documents or something.
do you want a copy of it? There's a, you can borrow mine.
Yeah, I kind of missed that.
And,
Thanks.
of course, you need to discuss in the context of the DRI and changing parking regimes downtown and parking enforcement, all kinds of stuff's a pretty important and weighty issue for serious consideration.
Yeah, I remember that there had been lengthy conversations about this in the past. So,
So are we having a discussion about,
well, yeah. I think-
what exactly are we discussing?
When are the
If
applications
there's
due
any
for?
questions on this?
I don't
Usually
have
are
any.
due, we usually put that process out in March and have applications due in April.
The building inspector's office is the one who sends out the applications to all the restaurants. They are ready to do that. They want to make sure that's what you want to do this year.
And we have 18
Well, they
spots?
haven't, they have to tell us, I think we have 15 max.
50 that we max out on.
Which is set by.
That's what I meant what our quota was.
It's set by
So-
resolution, so you could always increase or decrease that amount. So I think the first question is, do you want to offer parklets, and then if so, how many? And then that would be
If you want to
sufficient.
go with the way it's always been, that was what the mayor was wondering, that's why he brought up the DRI.
Has there been a higher demand than the 15 max quota?
Not in this last year, no. I think we're less than quota last year.
Yeah, you were left.
No, and I think it was a year or two ago when we started with the DRI that I brought this up, that we're going to have to address something here. I think certainly from the restaurant standpoint,
they're attractive and they do well and they help business. But I do think there may be some that are underutilized or not utilized at all, that I think we need to look at as well, if we do decide to grant them this year.
Well, that's a question I have. Are these granted individually, or is?
Yes.
So we would have to act beyond this to approve
The individual
places-
requests.
The individual requests, okay.
And also keep in mind that this summer we are starting to do more testing in Turkey Street. We will be displacing parking. We are looking for alternative places for employee parking downtown. So parking is increasingly, including this summer, at a premium, obviously. So just, make your decisions very carefully.
So I would say this is something, if, Joe, if I understand correctly, you're just waiting to get the okay to send out the requests?
Yeah, typically this time of year, we would remind all the people that have done it in the past that it's time to send in their request for you guys to
I'm sorry, Beth,
We would put it on the April, we're hoping to put them on the April 4th agenda.
on the April 4th agenda.
Because May 1st is
So,
when they start.
I think, I don't know, I can't speak for anyone else, but I think that probably this is something we may want to make a decision on for next week's meeting, so that we can kind of discuss it and not just make a,
You want a resolution to?
Well,
go ahead, I'm sorry, Rochelle.
yeah, I think that if we have a clear picture of how any changes to parking might affect the positioning of these applications. I'm just saying, I think that would be helpful. And so,
Beth, how long does the license run? May 1st through what? How long are they?
September 30th.
September 30th.
I know those are quite popular, people.
yeah, I
do
personally
picture
like them.
themselves.
Is that, Matt, is that something you might be able to have for next week?
Yeah, there are still some unknowns as to ongoing testing over the course of the summer, how many spots on the Jerky lot we might have to set aside here and there, but I can certainly take a look at it and give you some numbers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So just so Lisa knows, in the building inspector's office, we're not sending anything out, you want a resolution on next week's agenda to approve.
That would be my preference.
I'm sorry, I didn't get to review this carefully, but I think I'm leaning towards, we could do it, and when the applications come in, if we think there's, not a reasonable amount of them, and it doesn't affect the parking too significantly,
But I think we'll have to also coordinate it with what Matt provides us. I mean, there may be some instances where we may not be able to grant a request, or we may not be able to grant the number of spots that somebody
And even if there
is
aren't,
requesting.
specific displacements that you know of, you can at least anticipate that there will be displacements, and that we may need to include some kind of flexibility in what is available on the street.
Sure.
And I guess the question is, do you want to do the program, or that's, I'm trying to find out, because we need to send the restaurants, send a note to the restaurants to get their applications back, or we won't know if they're going to do that. So that was what our discussion for
I
tonight.
understand that. I know that, but I think, can we wait a week until we get the information that we're looking for as far as?
So you're not gonna tell us to do anything till next week? Okay, so I'll let them know.
I mean, that's just my, I'd
Yeah,
like to.
I mean, I think there might be
Try to put the horse
consensus
before
that
the cart.
there's consensus that we want to have some parklets. We may need to reduce the
Reduce
number
the
of
number
parklets.
and the locations.
Yeah,
So we may just need to push back the date that they're due by, because it
That's
won't
fine.
be by, they may not be able to get them all back with their checks and application.
Mhm.
So I'll just tell them.
And we'll be able to deal with these individually anyway, right?
Yes.
So,
I'd like to reassure you, Peter, that Plattsburgh today does not have a parking problem.
I've noticed a lot of spaces
A lot
out
of
there.
spaces available. As you drive around various neighborhoods, or various parts of downtown at various times of the
Well,
day.
I was referring to Mike with the, over this summer with the potential work that is being done. I didn't.
And I can clarify, the major construction of the potential Durkee developments, based on the negotiations that we've had involving the development agreement, does not start major construction until very late this year, past the point at which Beth said those licenses would expire.
Okay.
November,
But
right?
again,
That's the
we are
original.
September
looking
30th.
at occasional set aside of parking for testing down there, subsoil analysis, that kind of thing.
It's been amazing how well the parking enforcement is working. There always seem to be parking spaces available in the 2 hour, the 30-minute, the 1 hour, whatever. There seem to be places there, so it's encouraging.
at this time, Manager Ruff, did you have something you wanted to add to the items to be brought forward? To
Actually, yes, sir, I got it on the agenda. So, let's see, on the infrastructure committee agenda, it's number 6. And then it shows up on the formal meeting as number that, letter H.
Very good. At this time, I entertain a motion for Elizabeth to move items 1 through 7 to the agenda.
1 through 7. Yes, I'll make that motion to move those items.
Second.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't have any additional items. So, do you have any old business?
Was there a number 8?
Whoops.
Oh.
Yes, there's an 8.
Councilor Moore, you've got to make a
This one.
motion for number 8 to go to the agenda as well.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Okay, is there any old business? There not being any, is there any new business? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Resolution.
Oh, sorry, that already got it.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes. Looks like we've got about 2 minutes before our hearings begin, then we can have a work session after that.
Okay.
Is there going to be
That
a,
question very quickly.
is there going to be a need to go into executive session?
I don't think so.
Did you want an executive session? It's on the agenda. I don't think we need it. Are you doing okay?
No, no.
So sorry.
That's all right.
Do you need me to move for you? No. No, I do not mind at all. Is that enough room?
Yep.
Can you make it, Mike?
You betcha. Thank you.
What's that? It's the change in the time. I think it's got, I know my kids are cranky. It's just been a tough week. Sorry, there you go. So sorry. Got it.
when I had the headsets on and you guys put papers over it, it's like, yes, exactly. I don't think it's as bad online, but I've got the headsets on, so it's like right through the ear canal. It's like, how many inputs was that? I think 6. I think bringing students in at some point. Just, well, I teach a class. They do have on these guys every week. And they have to do local stuff. That's an idea. Accepting the equipment. That's the risk you take.
I'll let you do it.
Unless that's all 56 up here.
I mean, it's like, it's essentially 50 on that day. This is awesome. So it's almost.
You see that cycle out to west? 80 mile an hour gusts in Denver International Airport, long plane.
Where was that, Matt?
Denver.
In Denver?
Yeah, you looked at, I mean, it was far larger than any tropical cyclone I've ever seen, right in the center of the country, blizzard conditions across 4 states. That's insane, yeah. Like the entire front range of the Rockies in Colorado, Boulder, Denver, Colorado Springs shut down the whole day because nobody could do anything.
Huh. And that's coming this way?
No, it's actually going up in Canada. That's actually the reason why we're getting such warm weather. It's pulling everything from the Gulf up.
Hey, that's not Duncan.
Remember last year, the bomb Genesis?
The bomb Genesis.
Remember that?
The bomb Genesis.
Yep. It was January.
Yeah, I was in Boston. When that hit.
We need to get the return before I can make it.
So, Michelle, this, your law, yeah, they made the changes, right? So that language choice is right, yeah, I would have submitted it. Right, I just double checking. Yeah. Did you have a chance to Jay Lamont? He sent it at 3:30. That would have been bad. I'm getting ready for this. Actually, I was on. Oh, sorry.
You've just been doing too much. You've been doing too much.
Maybe.
You're trying to fix up Chattagay.
Yeah.
I'd like to call the public hearing to order. It's a public hearing. The City of Plattsburgh is holding a public hearing to hear public comments on a proposed local law P2A, a local law renaming, amending, and restating in its entirety Chapter 241, Section 5 of the City Code of the City of Plattsburgh, regulating the use of tobacco products upon public property. I do invite any members of the public who'd like to please come and address the council on this, and we also circulated a public comment, a written comment to you all. Please. You're welcome, please come forward.
Do I say my name? Or?
Yep.
Okay, I'm Amelia DiDominicus. I'm in 9th grade at Plattsburgh High School, and I would just like to say that regulating tobacco on public property would definitely be beneficial, because I have a 9-year-old brother, and I know how easily influenced little kids can be. I mean, my brother wants to do everything he sees me and my friends doing. So if a little kid, like my brother, were to walk down the street and see a group of teenagers vaping or smoking or using tobacco products, they might think, oh, that's cool, that's a fun thing to do, but it's not, obviously, it's harmful, and it's basically desensitizing and training these younger children just to be used to all of this that they see everywhere, all over the city, all over anywhere they go, and if we could control that a bit, it would definitely be very good, because we're kind of just paying for prolonged suicide. So I just don't want these little kids to be so easily influenced.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public please like to come and address the council? And by the way, if you have one perspective, please send a representative to represent your side so we have new messages each time.
I'm Marissa Goldsmith, and I'm a representative of Reality Check. And I have a 4-year-old nephew who has a really bad asthma. So we went to take him to the Mayor's Cup 4th of July thing this year, and he actually, someone who was smoking like over here, like to the side of the building, blew smoke over him, and he started having an asthma attack. And I know there's a lot of people around here that have asthma, and that can really affect him, because not only was it scary for me because I was alone with him, it was scary for him because he couldn't breathe and he can't figure that out yet. And so if we lower it, it's more of a chance for us to be able to take him out without having to carry this backpack with all his asthma stuff because of how bad it is for him. So medical reasons can also like affect it a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other individuals like to articulate any other views on this?
How you doing? My name's Mark Elkins. I'm 58 years old. Smoked since I was 14. Been around the public, and quite obviously I understand why this is being brought before the board. We have people and children that we want to protect, and the public we wish to protect, but we also must think about humans, who we are and what we are. This is just an extemporaneous talk right here. I'm not linked to anybody, I'm not speaking to anybody, but I've gone through the heart attacks. I know what smoking does. I also know that what vaping has done for me. And since then, my medical records are open because I didn't hold it while I was in law enforcement. Let everybody know what cigarettes was doing to me. And at the end of the day, when we drive past the bars, a couple of you may go home and have a drink of wine, may have a shot of brandy. I smoked a pipe for many years, and that was much better than the cigarettes. But I smoked cigarettes for one reason. And a lot of people, when I was at work, I was a supervisor. Why do you smoke? Well, I used to take and laugh, and I said, I don't smoke for me. I smoke to protect you. Because if I didn't smoke, I'd snap. I'm not a pretty man when I snap. And a lot of people, when they smoke, or when they have a cigarette, or when they have that drink at the end of the day, it's the finish of the day. It's given time, solace. If you work around Office of Mental Health, OMH, you'll see that some of them have very yellow fingertips. There's a reason why. Talk to your Office of Mental Health. They'll explain to you why. I've talked a lot of men down from hanging up, committing suicide, and cutting up by just giving them a cigarette. The cigarette's right? No. You and I both know that. But to shove it in the back corner and to hide it and to let it not be there while the cigarettes are still being sold on the front shelves of stores. The bars are open on the corner streets and we allow drinking on the sidewalks. It's not about children not knowing. It's about children not being taught the way I taught mine. Mine went to Plattsburgh school. One of them is now in the Air Force, 2 degrees, a 3rd degree. Second one right now is biology, doing very well at the college. 4.0 student, very proud of him on this. Almost 4.0. But to make a long story short, vaping has saved me. And that's not a fact. I still vape today. I still have my little shot of drink at night once in a while. But to take my rights away, I can understand not doing smoking in schools, smoking in a restaurant. I wouldn't want it either, and I'm a smoker, a vapor. Who wants that? But at the end of the day, when my wife retires at the credit union up there, she works at Dannemore Credit Union. I just bought an RV, very expensive RV at the Hershey Show. I want to drive it down to Docking Cove, park it along the side, throw out the fishing pole, and I want to smoke a pipe. And I want to do it whether there's a law or not. I've worked for that. What I don't understand is why did I go to the military and served in the military? I question myself on that today, on basics like this. I can understand protecting the rights of others, but I do not like the sweep of today's society. Teach them. Don't put it in the corner. Don't hold it like a crack pipe in the back house. Let it be known and up front. It's taught, it's trained, it's not hidden. That's all that's said.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other individuals like to offer another perspective?
Good evening. My name is Michael Frenier. I'm the president of the New York State Vapors Association, as well as co-owner of a vape shop here in Plattsburgh, in the city. I want to commend you on taking a stand in protecting the kids in public areas. But I don't think that law that you're looking to do, on one hand, goes far enough, but on the other hand, it has the potential to be a very harassing policy. If the city really wanted to make a stand and protect the kids, be one of the first cities in the nation, make it illegal under the age of 18 to possess or use tobacco inside the city limits. Give law enforcement the ability to investigate where they got their products and follow through with it. These feel-good laws, yes, they're good for a headline, but they're not going to give you the achievement you're looking for. Until we actually address the actual issue, where are they getting it? It has nothing to do with flavors. You know, you keep hearing all about flavors and stuff with the kids, and you know, and I'm sure that's where this is leading. You didn't hear about any of this stuff 10 years ago, but I wish I knew what flavor it was, because until the government would make that particular flavor legal, I would go back and make it and sell it. It has nothing to do with flavors. It's the nicotine buzz. That's what the kids are after. You can ban all the flavors you want. There was flavors before Juul, there's gonna be flavors after Juul. And, you know, address the issue for what it is. Don't smoke and mirror it. I'm afraid, you know, if you've never smoked cigarettes, and I used to be a 3 to 5 pack a day smoker. I haven't had a cigarette in 8 years. I am a vapor, and it has saved my life. And it was my grandson that got me to quit, because I couldn't wrestle with him more than a minute. I was out of breath, and I was like, buddy, you're killing Papa, I gotta stop. And like a fool, I went outside, because I never smoked in my house. Couldn't breathe, heart pounding out of my chest, and I lit up a cigarette. And it hit me like a bolt of lightning, like, you fool. You should be in there playing with your grandson. And the reason you can't, you're doing again. I got the electronic cigarette and I moved on. If you've got city employees that are smokers, and you try to push them in a manner where while they're employed during the day, they can't safely go somewhere and have their cigarette, and you've given their supervisor the ability to write them up, that under other circumstances they're a great employee, this particular law has all the ability to become a harassment law. You know, I'd hate to see convenience stores, tobacco shops, or even vape shops be targeted for somebody walking across the public sidewalk, vaping or smoking. You know, but I commend you for wanting to protect the kids. We all want to protect the kids. As I said, I am a grandfather. I don't want any of my grandkids smoking or vaping. But the adults that are of legal age, that have the problem, and they may try to quit by vaping, and they're walking to work or whatever, with the amount of vehicles we have running around in the city, the diesel trucks and so forth, I mean, we got to keep things a little bit in perspective here. But if the city really wants to take a stand against teenage, underage use of tobacco, make it illegal. Just make it absolutely illegal in the city of Plattsburgh. If you are under the age of 18 and you're caught with a pack of cigarettes or a vape, there's consequences to it. Law enforcement's going to investigate where you got your product. It's going to give you a better insight on what's happening in your own community here. And I would love to talk to anybody. You know, our store's up in Plattsburgh Plaza. If anybody would ever want to reach out and talk to me, you know, be happy to answer any questions you have. And if you're looking for any literature, stats, or data, I can give you all you need. You know, one of the things that's crazy right now in this, especially in New York, you know, we got these bans going on all over against tobacco, and our state is about ready to legalize prostitution.
Or pot, yeah.
I mean, our sense of direction seems to be flawed. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any last comments on this hearing?
My name is Maria Murphy. I'm in 8th grade and I'm a member of Reality Check. And although it is a credible, like, that people would say that it's harassment to be like in public and not be able to smoke or vape, but my grandma used to be a smoker, and she was like, she wouldn't let us like see her smoke, and she stopped like quickly because whenever we like saw her, like she wouldn't let us like see her smoke, and she wouldn't want us to see her because then she would like then we would see like how like that would be all right to do. And that I think that even though like harassment like for people now is an issue, I think that people who are already smokers would want their children to not be able to see anything, and that even if people have to go through harassment, I think that they'd rather like their children be safe in an environment like that. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional comments? Please.
Hello again, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. I believe you have my written comments in front of you. Hopefully, thank you. I also, in the email that I sent, attached several studies for your reference. Before I begin, my name is Alex Clark. I am a resident in 174 US Oval here in Plattsburgh. My day job is the CEO of the Consumer Advocates for Smoke-Free Alternatives Association, but I'm here in my capacity as a resident tonight. I did just want to highlight a couple of things which I think people have already touched on in previous comments. One of which is the, I think, overall purpose of expanding the smoking ordinance to include vapor products, which is we don't want strangers to be acting as an influence on young people with their risky behaviors. In reality, the biggest influence on a young person's decision to take up smoking or any other risky behavior is whether or not a parent or sibling in the home engages in those behaviors as well. So the bumper sticker slogan that I like to bring up at times like this is that if we're going to save the children, we have to save the parents. And I just wanted to underscore my concern I brought up in the last hearing, which was that ordinances like this that put vaping and other smoke-free products on the same kind of scale of risk as combustible tobacco sends the misleading and inaccurate message that these products have the same risk. That ultimately discourages people who smoke from trying these products and hopefully successfully quitting. And I do understand that something that comes up when we talk about people using vapor products to quit smoking is there's a number out there, which is not a concrete number, but it's typically most people who use vapor products also continue to smoke. While that may be true, a recent study found that people who used vapor products in conjunction with counseling were twice as likely to quit smoking successfully as people who use nicotine replacement products over the counter in conjunction with counseling. So it's very promising news, and definitely that's been my experience. I was a smoker for the better part of 21 years. I used nicotine gum for 3 years. I would smoke at work and use nicotine gum at home. I would use the nicotine gum on public transportation. But it never really satisfied my need and, quite honestly, my love affair with cigarettes. If it wasn't for seeing somebody that my company did business with at the time using a vapor product indoors, actually against the law in New Jersey, I would have never given vaping a try. I was a skeptic, like a lot of people, and believed that these products were just as harmful as smoking. So having that kind of peer-to-peer example of somebody who was also a very heavy smoker, successfully transitioning to vapor products was vital to me making the transition myself. It's been 6 years since I made that change. So I think as far as vaping is concerned, I think those are the high-level points. The other thing that I hope that you all will discuss are the finer points of where this ordinance applies. The way that I read it, and it seems the way that it's written, according to the law, all of the sidewalks and streets connected to City Hall, all of the sidewalks connected to McDonough Park, even the little section there on Bridge Street, smoking is prohibited. But there is no signage to communicate that policy to the public. So every day there are potentially hundreds of people violating the law, and they don't know that they're possibly subject to a $100 fine. So if there's some clarification they can offer on that, or something that the city is going to do in order to produce those signs that can communicate the policy, I would love to hear about that. Other than that, thank you for considering my comments.
Thank you.
Are there any other perspectives not yet addressed? Seeing none, I'd like. Please.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Gerald Allard. I'm a local owner of Plattsburgh Vape Co. It's an alternative smoke shop on Bridge Street, actually. And you probably already heard that story 30 times that we're all smokers that switched to vaping, so I really don't want to talk about that. My biggest thing is I am located downtown. I do live downtown. And I have a lot of customers that come from downtown. So, apologize, nerves. The biggest thing, you know, and the reason why I think this proposal is going through is to target underage, and I understand that completely. You know, we do everything in the vape stores to try to prevent underage from. I mean, just recently, I know 3 out of the 4 shops in town, we have driver license scanners now. So everyone underneath the age of 30, we use a program on our POS system. You physically scan an ID. So if it's fake, you're gone. If it's expired, you're gone. So you must have a valid driver's license with your picture to just be able to walk into the store. My biggest thing is that since I am located on Bridge Street, any of my customers that walk out and decide to use their product after just purchasing it, they can't, and they can get fined. You know, I don't want to be harmful to any other influences that shouldn't be, but like I said, I am located down there, and you know, I feel like it would be almost a target to my customers to be able to, they walk outside, they use the product they just purchased, and now they get fined for it, for the cost of 3 times the product, when they're simply just trying to use an alternative product. So that would be it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other perspectives to add? Seeing none, I'd like to close this hearing and then immediately begin our next hearing. City of Plattsburgh is holding a public hearing to hear public comments on a proposed local law P3, a local law amending, renaming, and restating Chapter 206 noise of the City Code of the City of Plattsburgh. So please come up and address the council if you wish.
Good evening. My name is Mike Penfield. I'm the Director of Manufacturing at Georgia Pacific Corporation on Market Street. This is Matt Bokus. He's our Environmental Health and Safety Manager. And we wanted to come tonight to, one, try to maybe ask a couple questions to help us better understand the ordinance a little bit.
Could you state again your company?
Georgia Pacific.
Georgia Pacific, okay.
Yep, Georgia Pacific.
I saw the sign, but I
Yeah,
didn't hear you.
Apologize. You know, we feel like we've been a very good community supporter, a very good community member. I recall many years ago when I first started working at the mill that we had neighbors who lived right across the street from the mill, and we used to unload baled pulp in the evening, and it was noisy. And so we made accommodations to that. We only unloaded during the day, and we looked at changing some of the ways that we unload to try to reduce the amount of noise that was occurring. Currently, we don't know if we would have a problem with, with the levels that are potentially being proposed here as part of the agreement. But we were just kind of wondering if any research had been done in any of the commercial areas to kind of determine what kind of noise levels are there today, to kind of determine where we should land as far as the levels that are actually in the ordinance. So I don't know, I can, you can answer that if you can, or if this is just
It's not our custom to use question and answering right now.
Okay, that's fine. And then the other thing, as we were the other thing is we're not aware of that there's been any complaints of noise from our facility. We do take that very seriously, and whenever we do have a citizen contact us about something, we try to get back to them immediately, give them an immediate answer. Because again, we want to be good stewards in the community and be a good supporter of the community. So we're just trying to understand a little bit better because, like I said, we don't know for sure if we have an issue. We have gone out and done a couple of noise readings ourselves, and we think we're going to be okay, or we're going to be right on the borderline. We do have several safety systems in our, and I understand in the ordinance that safety systems are, are something that would be allowed, and our safety systems are usually instantaneous. They're not things that are going to last for hours and hours and hours. We do use high pressure steam, so therefore if the system becomes over pressurized, our safety mechanism is to vent to atmosphere. Our air compressors are designed so that if we're not using enough air and we over pressurize in our air compressor system, that we ventilate the atmosphere. So we're certainly not against looking at things that we could do to reduce noise ourselves if there are some issues. But again, our goal was to try to better understand kind of what's driving it. I've read what was available online from some of the meetings, and I read what was available on the ordinance itself online. So we would just like you to consider that, if there's a specific area that is a problem, is there a way to possibly address that specific issue and not address the issue as a community-wide problem, unless there truly is a community-wide problem. So.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What's that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So this figure here that we have, just to get you oriented, Margaret Street, Weed Street, when you look at it as an aerial photo, it kind of looks like it's one big facility. But you can see this orange line is an approximation of our property line. So we have Georgia Pacific Corporation, we have Pactiv, and out here we have Saranac Energy. So if there ever was a concern or a question about noise levels, and just for conversation's sake, say it's out on Margaret Street, how would that really be determined that it's coming from Georgia Pacific, or it's a combination of all of those facilities? And that was just something that we wanted to make sure that everyone was taken into consideration, because we do all kind of operate within that same footprint there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other individuals like to please address the council on local law P3? Seeing none, I'll close this hearing, and we're about ready then to begin our common council meeting tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Reed?
Present.
Counselor Armstrong?
Here.
Counselor Kelly?
Here.
Counselor Gibbs?
Here.
Counselor Ensel?
Here.
Counselor McFarland? Counselor Moore?
Here.
Just a brief comment. I think tonight we're going to make a number of very far-reaching decisions on behalf of the city. That's not the only reason to celebrate. This and New Year's are my two favorite days of the year. You might say I forgot to mention my wife's anniversary, but that is New Year's, so I've got that one covered there. But this is Pi Day, one of my three favorite irrational numbers. Along with E and Planck's constant, pi is 3.14, 3/14, March 14th. So this is a day to celebrate. I won't go on to all the digits of pi because given that it's an irrational number, it's infinite, and that might take a little bit long. And we have a lot of work to do tonight. The irony is not lost on me that I'm so keen about an irrational number, given that I always try to make very rational, financially important decisions. And I'm accused to be a little bit of a numbers nerd on that part. But I know certainly after this council meeting, I'm going to go out with my wife and we're going to have a nice local pie. Rum Box is open till 6 p.m. Best pies in town, but you can also have pizza pie. And Pizza Bono and Hobie's produces some very good pizza pie for everybody to enjoy tonight too. So make sure you go in and enjoy Pie Day today. Thank you. That's all I have for you.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on February 28, 2019 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Councilor Ansel, second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending March 13, 2019 in the amount of $1,044,214.14 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Gibbs and second by Councilor Kelly. Discussion? I do want to point out on this item and on our audit, our spending for this week is a little bit high, but it's because we have been getting those retroactive checks out. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. You have the usual reports in your packet. Can I ask for additional reports, beginning with governance strategy and city operations, Councilor Armstrong?
Yes, I just did want to let the council know that I'm following up on our discussions concerning OpenGov and doing comparison research, and I will keep you posted.
Thank you. City infrastructure, Councilor Moore.
We just had our infrastructure meeting today, so I will not repeat everything that we just did.
Finance and Budget, Councilor Kelly.
The Finance and Budget Committee meeting will occur next Thursday. We'll have plenty of things to talk about.
Public Safety, Councilor Gibbs.
A couple of weeks ago, Jamie Schwartz came and presented the council with some information on a potential grant. And I'm still investigating some angles on that, so no decision yet. And that's all I can update at this time.
Public Library, Councilor Ansel.
No updates?
And MLD, Board President, Councilor McFarland. Who's the second on that committee?
Oh, myself. Nothing new to add there.
Resolved that the reports as listed are hereby ordered received, and any written reports are placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office. Moved by Councilor Gibbs and second by Councilor Moore. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. No correspondences or recommendations for boards at this time. Please continue.
Resolved that the bills offered by the Common Council for the week ending March 8, 2019 in the amount of $1,862,924.08 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants strongly city tabling for the payment thereof.
Moved by Councilor Kelly, second by Councilor Armstrong. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Passed. This is now an opportunity for the residents of Plattsburgh to come and please address the council on any issue on the agenda tonight. Please, if you don't have a copy of the agenda, there are some available just outside. There will be another public comment period at the end of the meeting for other issues of mutual concern.
Hi, I'm Luke Cyphers. I live on US Oval, and I just wanted to speak up in support of the city's plan to take up the offer from the school district to repair the Webb Island footbridge. And I applaud the council for revisiting the issue, and I hope you all vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment at this time? Seeing none, let's continue, please.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the Common Council approves that the Common Council agrees to accept $758,000 incentive proposal from Empire State Development for upgrading the WRRF dewatering system and chemical building relocation, and that the mayor is authorized to execute all necessary documents to accept the award and request reimbursement.
Moved by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Ensel. Discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Councilor Ensel?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland? Oops, sorry. Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Adoption of local law P2-A of 2019. A
I
local
move
law.
to move the motion and waive the reading.
Moved by Councilor Armstrong, second by Councilor Ensel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Discussion on the item itself.
Yes. And I do appreciate all of the input that we got from the various speakers today. And I take very seriously public comment. However, the intent of the law is to protect the public, those who engage in smoking either tobacco or vaping, engage in a behavior that is their choice, which is not prohibited for them to engage in their own private spaces. The purpose of this law is to protect the public. And I want to direct you to a couple of references to Surgeon General's study or proclamations about e-cigarettes. Whereas the U.S. Surgeon General also cautions against the use of e-cigarettes because this use poses health risks to both users and those around them. Please note that. Finding that even breathing e-cigarette aerosol that someone else has exhaled poses potential health risks. Because the smoke or vapor can contain harmful and potentially harmful chemicals, including nicotine, ultrafine particles that can be inhaled deep into the lungs, flavorings such as diacetyl, a chemical linked to a serious lung disease, volatile organic compounds such as benzene, which is found in car exhaust, and heavy metals such as nickel, tin, and lead. So this initiative came to my attention through the advocacy of Tobacco Free New York, who spends a great deal of time studying public health issues and helps people actually quit smoking and vaping, as well as promoting legislation that creates a healthier environment. So I would just like the council to take into consideration what I'm reading, and also know that the signage that the gentleman suggested that we make more prominent is something that the Tobacco Free New York organization can help provide us with.
I'd just like to add that I was extremely encouraged by the number of young people that showed up and spoke out on this. And I was particularly touched by the young lady who spoke about her 4-year-old nephew.
At a public event.
At a public event. Having had people I'm close to have similar situations, I can absolutely positively relate, and I know that people talk about their rights to do an activity in the public. I think people also have a right to be able to attend and breathe and not have to not enjoy an event because of that.
Good point.
Any other additional comments or discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Adoption of local law P-3 of 2019, amending, renaming, and restating Chapter 206 noise of the City Code of the City of Plattsburgh. A local law amending, renaming, and restating in its entirety Chapter 206 noise of the City Code of the City of Plattsburgh. This local law shall take effect immediately upon approval by the mayor and filing with the New York State Secretary of State, the entire text of which has been distributed to and read by the members of the Common Council, is hereby enacted without the reading thereof, and a copy of said local law is made part of the minutes of this meeting.
Moved by Counselor Ensel, second by Counselor Moore. Discussion?
So I obviously missed the public comment section. I'm just curious what went on then, or the public hearing.
With regard to the noise ordinance.
Yes.
Had a couple of representatives from Georgia Pacific. They had some questions about the law and how the noise would be measured, particularly since there's a concentration of industry right where they are located, how one would identify the actual source of the...
They also asked, I think, if there had been any
complaints.
Prior complaints, and I mean, I am not aware of any. I don't know if...
We'd have the, I guess, building inspector would know, right? Or would they?
He was here, sorry, everyone looked over to Joe.
Yeah. Anybody answer for Joe?
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
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 Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the Common Council approves contract number 2019-02, Liquid Alum for the Water Resource Recovery Facility, be awarded to Chemtrade Chemicals, U.S. LLC for the amount of 458 dry ton or 22,213 total average annual usage of 48.5 dry tons.
Moved by Counselor Gibbs, second by Counselor Ensel. Discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the Common Council approves contract number 2017-16 sodium thiosulfate for water resource recovery facility be extended for 1 year with Thatcher Company of New York for an estimated sum of $71,392.
Moved by Counselor Kelly, second by Counselor Gibbs. Discussion?
And we have the graphic that shows us where the borings will take place. So.
That's the next one.
That's the next resolution.
Oh, well, I guess we have it for the next resolution.
Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore, the Common Council approves the mayor to sign an access agreement with prime companies to allow for soil boring operations, assessments, and related work activities to be performed upon the city properties known as the Durkee Street parking lot and the old highway oil site. The Common Council also approves the temporary closure of roughly 25 parking spaces on the Durkee Street parking lot from Monday, March 18, 2019 through Friday, March 22, 2019 to allow Prime to proceed with soil boring operations, assessments, and related work.
Moved by Counselor Armstrong, second by Counselor Kelly. Discussion?
I have one thing, just one amendment. Prime Companies, the actual legal name of the entity who's going to be doing it is Prime Plattsburgh LLC. That's the LLC that they set up specifically to construct, build, and own the Derby development.
Okay.
Good to know.
I just have a question.
Mhm.
So since the borings will begin March 18th through March 22nd,
That's next Monday through Friday.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So what, how are we to deal with the displacement of those parking spaces?
I know the mayor has made some arrangements for overflow parking if you'd like to.
Oh, good, thank you.
We're working on an arrangement with a local parking, private parking establishment to take our overflow parking for that.
Great, thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
I'd like to create a full-time community engagement coordinator in the office of the mayor upon ratification of the council. This is, I sent you some of the details. This is really a rechanging of the title for the previous promotions and special events.
Okay.
We took some of the items out of that job description and we added additional communications aspects, which I think all of you in the past have encouraged us to do so.
And it was civil service.
Finally approved, so they need to see ratification sent to them before they allow us to start hiring.
We don't
Further
need a
discussion?
motion. I'll move.
Oh, just because of roll call is required.
Okay.
So on resolution. Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves a proposal from HydroSource Associates Inc. to install up to 4 test wells at Mead Dam to gather information on high-yield wells at a maximum estimated cost of $240,000, and that the mayor is authorized to execute all necessary documents. Funding will be from a capital project.
Moved by Counselor Ensel, second by Counselor Gibbs. Discussion?
Was this discussed in the committee meeting?
It was. Okay.
John, could you just tell me a little bit about what this is? There's 4 test wells being put up in the meeting.
HydroSource Associates has been on board with us for a number of years, and they've been surveying the county for places that might have groundwater that we can use to make sure that our long-term water supply is reliable and resilient, regardless of what kind of climate change we run into or regulatory changes. They've identified some locations on city-owned property up by Mead Dam as having some potential, and they want to install some test wells to see what the geology is really like under there and where water might be, and do some pumping and see what it might yield.
And if the test wells prove to have groundwater, what's the next step?
Next step would be to test the quality of the water and to decide whether we want to go into full production wells. It would also be analysis of long-term yield of the aquifer and how that would affect the city's water supply.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolution by the City of Plattsburgh Common Council outlining acceptable terms for the reconstruction and conveyance of title for the Saranac River, aka Webb Island.
Make a motion to
and
waive the
pedestrian
reading.
footbridge.
Move forward.
Moved by Counselor Ensel, second by Counselor Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Discussion of the item itself?
Yes.
Do you want to discuss something?
I just wanted her to read it all.
Do you want to read it? Okay. Fair enough.
AKA Webb Island.
Well,
No, it's passed.
no,
No,
this
it's
is
passed.
passed.
Oh.
I think I was the only one that
No, but
opposed.
that's what we did last time, and somebody wanted read.
Do you want it read?
No, if the council doesn't want to hear it, that's
I think it's possible for anybody to point out particulars of the resolution and just reference them as we're discussing.
that works.
Yeah. So in drafting this with the cooperation of corporate counsel, and through the vigorous discussion of our various options in conversations, I think we have a good resolution. People wanted to address the fact that there are unresolved issues regarding the easement granted by SUNY to the state of New York for this location, and we require that those issues be resolved in this resolution.
We also received late this afternoon an email from the superintendent of schools that
Yes.
had asked.
Let's discuss that within the context of reviewing Roman numeral 2. So I'll read that unless somebody wants to volunteer. I feel a little tongue-tied tonight.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
So all of 2?
Yes.
Okay. Transfer of ownership?
Repairs by district. Roman numeral 2. On the.
Oh, yep, it's right here, it says 2. That's why I said it. It should have been 3. Okay, so 2, footbridge repairs by district?
Yeah.
The Plattsburgh City School District shall, at no cost to the city of Plattsburgh, retain appropriate contractors to perform and complete such repairs to the footbridge as may be necessary to remediate the conditions identified in the inspections and reports prepared by MJ Engineering and Land Surveying, PC, and BCA Architects and Engineers in September 2017 and November 2017, respectively. In the event that the footbridge has further deteriorated since the fall of 2017, the district shall perform and complete such other necessary repairs. Upon the completion of such necessary repairs, the district shall provide a written certification to the city from its contractors and engineers. The city reserves the right to obtain additional engineering reports upon receipt of the written certification from the district in order to evaluate the useful life expectancy for the footbridge. In the event the engineering reports fail to certify a probable useful life expectancy of at least
10
years, or other material defects are described therein, the city reserves the right to refuse to accept the, quote, transfer of ownership, end quote, of the footbridge as described in section 3.
Right. And I do want to say that I thought that the copy that I sent in for the resolution had 10 in it. I perhaps didn't save that change because it was left open. But we've received a communication that you may have reviewed from Jay LeBron, the superintendent. Let me see. In which he points out the clause that states the city reserves the right to obtain additional engineering reports upon receipt of the written certification from the district in order to evaluate the useful life expectancy of the footbridge. In the event that the engineering reports fail to certify a probable useful life of 10 years or other material defects are described therein, the city reserves the right to refuse to accept transfer of ownership. And he goes on to say, we absolutely understand the city's desire to protect against receiving a lemon bridge, one to which inadequate repairs have been effected. Conversely, the Board of Education needs to be sure that some technically or inconsequential detail of design and or construction won't be used to refuse ownership. I wonder, therefore, and so he makes a proposal that the city, instead of waiting to the end to certify whether the design and construction is going to be adequate, if we might entertain the notion that the city would be included, or representatives be included in the design and construction phase of the repair, and that upon completion of the bridge, it would be inspected and certified by district engineers.
Seems reasonable.
It does seem reasonable.
It does, and it seems proactive rather than reactive, and so I'm going to introduce an amendment.
Did you want something in at the end? You said at the end, district engineers. I think in the way you had it written here, did it say that the city could have like their own engineers look at it as well?
That's what we're getting rid of in favor of having the consultation happen at the beginning, during the process rather than at the end.
If I could just make a quick statement too, just to make sure everyone understands, this is an offer that the city council is making to the school district. So in the event the Board of Education accepted this offer, that would lead to a formal agreement, which would then come back to the council. So this isn't
This is a
the final
preliminary step.
This is the preliminary step.
But I think, I don't have any problem with, you know, it's the basic concept that implies that we're willing to guarantee the usefulness of the bridge by participating in the process rather than reserving the option to have a second opinion after the end has happened.
Could you describe how we would participate?
It says in my suggestion that city personnel or representatives would be included in the design and construction of the phase of repair.
So would we send one of our own there, or would we hire a consultant?
Well, I think it
to
would
work
be left
with
up
it?
to us.
Right, to me, that would be left up to us to decide what that person is.
How we wanted to
And, you know,
make
in
that
kind of the
guarantee.
fashion that Dean just outlined.
And if we decide to hire a consultant, who would pay for it?
That's a good question.
Would they pay for it?
Well, I would think that would be nice.
Could we add that into this modification of this resolution?
Sure.
Okay.
And so we should say at the city's expense, at the district's expense?
Well, if the other councilors concur,
What do you think?
My only question about that would be, they don't have accounts, so we have accounts to draw funds to pay for such things. I'm not sure where they would come, where that kind of money would come from in a school district budget. So
I
they
think
just
we'd
do-
have to see also what the cost of all of this.
Well, they don't have the ability to pull funds from things the way that we do.
They would,
just
I
not
would
the-
assume though, they would be drawing from this repair money. That they would all be coming from the state funds that they are gonna be drawing upon to repair the bridge.
Then if that's what we want, then that's what we should suggest. That way it doesn't present itself as
Okay.
a suggestion of, okay, go out and find more money to do this thing that
Right.
we're gonna try and mutually agree upon. If we put the language in there that says to be drawn from this money allocated,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise I don't see how they can just find money to
Yeah, I
pay for-
agree.
pay for that from,
Okay.
us.
I would suggest we actually do both, use someone within and also an independent consultant.
Well,
I don't
and
think
it
we would ask
needs-
them to pay for our internal.
Yeah, they,
Do we have someone on our payroll that is
qualified
to make that determination?
I don't believe so,
I
but
think since our Department of Public Works is going to be responsible for the bridge, it would be good to have somebody there. Not that they would be able to state precisely, but just to know what they're up against going forward.
I would agree with that,
And
but I
also think it
we
would
need
be
to-
nice if they would report to us occasionally on how this is going.
Right.
It would be nice to have someone there frequently, I would say.
we have already had some input from the county transportation supervisor, Carl Weiss. I think that there might be the possibility that personnel from the county would agree to participate in this process and help with the development of plans and the execution of plans.
Good suggestion.
I think it's a very good suggestion.
Okay, so now all that needs to be done is to write an amendment here. Okay, so help me. City personnel or representatives.
Can you specify where we are, where you're fitting?
What I would do is insert that right after, if you look on line 1, 2,
Could you put it at the
4,
end of-
5, we've got deteriorated since the fall of 2017. The district shall perform and complete such other necessary repairs, and insert there. City personnel or representatives will be included in the design and construction phase of repair. And then you wanted to include what? And this
In addition, any-
professional services these professional services will be paid for out of the DASNY money. Paid for out of the DASNY money. And then upon completion, the bridge will be inspected and certified by district engineers.
You need to write all that out for me to do that.
I will.
Follow what you're doing.
It's
Or
clear
send
as a
it to me-
bell.
Or send it to me in an email, because,
Out of
and I'm,
DASNY.
they need the resolution tomorrow. I need to do
Okay.
it tonight, because I'm working on it before I leave for vacation tomorrow.
All right, thank you. Funds. All right, so once
that in the
again,
form
city
of a
rep,
motion?
after complete such other necessary repairs, there would be an insertion of city personnel or representatives will be included in the design and construction phase of repair. Professional services, these professional services will be paid for out of DASNY fund. Upon completion of, the bridge will be inspected and certified by district engineers.
Is that in the form of a motion for the amendment?
Yeah, I would like someone to
I'll
move.
second.
But are you also
places-
striking any, are you striking any other language?
Yeah, you would, then this would replace. So I think we already have, after we insert that, upon completion of such necessary repairs, district shall provide written certification to the city from its contractors and engineer. And then we would strike the paragraph that follows. The city reserves the right to obtain additional engineering reports upon receipt of.
For,
Rochelle, one thing occurs to me that we're not permitted to direct the city employees to do anything. So while this is part of the resolution, we should ask the mayor's permission to do this.
Well, since there's no representative DPW here, it's not fair for me to commit them to something if they feel they don't have the expertise to do it.
Well, it says
They may
city
need to ultimately
personnel or.
create a budget line for an expert.
Yeah.
But it does say city personnel or designated.
Representatives.
Right,
And then it does specify then at someone's brilliant suggestion that we specify what money would be used to pay for those services.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
is it in striking everything that the?
I'll show you. Do you want me to give it to you now or at the
Well,
end
no,
of the
I'm
meeting?
just wondering.
Yeah, so everything after provide written certification to the city from its contractors and engineers, that which begins with the city reserves the right is struck all the way to the end.
Do we want to strike
Well,
out
don't we
that-
want to keep the 10 years?
Yeah, we want to keep that part.
I would say just strike it to the end of that sentence, expectancy for the footbridge.
Right.
Well, there's another mention of 10 years.
So you're saying you want to include,
In the event the engineering reports fail to certify a probable useful life expectancy of at least 10 years or other material defects are described therein, we reserve the right to refuse it. And if our engineer, the people that we have, aren't in,
no, what we were, I think the point that's trying to be
Yeah.
made, sure, with this amendment is to avoid a last-minute determination of, you know, an unviable bridge. We would instead contribute to the overseeing of the design and construction so that we were a
Okay, I
part
see
of
what
it,
you're
and we
saying.
would also be a part of the solution rather than part of the option to reject it.
Well, can't we do both?
Well, Peter's saying like if at the beginning it doesn't look like it would last 10 years, can we reject it? But there's another problem in that letter F mentions this blank number of years too. Does that refer to, and it refers to subsection 2 here. So would that letter F under subsection 3 need to be amended as well? Or?
Yeah, I guess it
include number
would.
10, yeah.
Yep.
We can just put the 10 there and then Peter might get what they were requesting.
Say again?
We can just amend it to put the number 10 here and then letter
Right,
F.
and then
that's
get
what
rid of
Peter
that,
was
the
just asking
rest of
for.
that.
I don't know what number 10 you're referring to.
The 10 years.
Oh, the 10 years.
Under letter F,
Because
under
the reports
subsection
fail to
4.
certify a probable useful life expectancy of at least 10 years.
I think we could have both. We could have,
Well, I think the point, though, I mean, if we're trying to take into consideration the trepidation the district might feel with regard to a last-minute rejection. I mean, the whole point of having personnel collaborate would be to see that there's mutual satisfaction.
I see what you're saying now.
But
Right.
I just want to caution that it may get deep into the project before you find out that it's too far gone. But in other words, they may start work, it may proceed, and then at some point they go, uh-oh, we found this other section that is completely unrepairable. So you have to cover yourself for whatever might transpire later on in the project. It may be right at the end that somebody says, oh.
But if we're collaborating along the way,
I know,
then
but
we
you-
don't have to wait to the
there
end.
are unforeseen things that can happen. I guess is what we want to cover ourselves for all
Yes,
possible
I
outcomes.
understand the
I mean, this is a
the place you're coming
proposal,
from.
it's not, this isn't necessarily something that we have to think everything through on it, but we do need to cover ourselves for as many outcomes
then,
as possible.
let's take into consideration the point that has been made, that there is some reservation on the part of the district to expose themselves to the idea that at the end of the process, they could be on the hook for bridge ownership if there was some dissatisfaction with the end result.
Could we say something like this, Rochelle? If, in the event of planning and repairs, it is discovered that this bridge
Is unviable.
is unviable, okay, unviable, good
Okay.
term.
Where do you want to put that?
At any time, either party may decide to terminate this agreement.
Right.
How does that sound?
They had already said that they weren't willing to, if it was discovered that the bridge could not be repaired for the amount that they were going to be given, they would abandon the project anyway. So I think that's consistent with kind of that same logic.
I'd like to see that language in
Yeah.
here as well,
Okay,
please.
do you want to write it out
So,
for me?
Yes, I will
Okay.
say, let's strike in the event the engineer's report fails to certify a probable useful life expectancy of at least 10 years, or other material defects are described therein, the city refuses the right to refuse to accept the transfer of ownership. So let's strike that entire last
Okay.
sentence.
Okay.
And let's replace it with this, and please feel free to help me along the way.
I think we have to read into the minutes exactly what you want it to say.
We will,
because
after
otherwise
after the whole
Okay.
process. we
I
will.
was saying before,
It
this
has
is
to be
a,
part of the public record.
this is an offer to the school district, they would have to accept it. You
Right.
might have other things that they may wanna offer
That's true.
changes to.
Yes.
If they do that, we'd have to pass another resolution next week to
Anyway,
accept their changes
That's to
anyways.
Dean's point,
So
right?
Dean, I think, was saying that we could pass it as is and let the school district make an amendment like that.
But I
Which
don't
we
think
could
that
then
addresses,
approve.
but I don't think that would address some of the concern, Mike's concern.
Yeah, let's take a stab at it, then we'll read the amendment in its entirety so that it can be written into the record.
Would you mind if I took a stab at it, Mike?
No, I'd like to, but you certainly help me along
Why
the way.
don't you write your own and Michael write his?
If in the event, comma, either,
There's no comment necessary.
If in the event of what?
in the event,
In the event,
in the event of,
during the process.
If
If
during
in the
the
construction
process,
if in the process of planning and repairs, the bridge is found to be unviable,
You may want to clarify unviable.
unviable is,
Structurally
yeah.
unsound.
It's found unrepairable, is that a better word?
Yeah.
is
Or
found to
beyond
be
repair?
Irreparable, yeah.
irreparable, I like that word.
Irreparable.
Okay,
Either or both parties can terminate this agreement.
can.
So
terminate.
I guess what we're saying is, yes, school board, we like your proposal, but we would also like the protection of knowing that we could walk away.
Are we still going to ask for the 10 years to stay in section F?
No.
Not in that section, but in the
No, it's being
following
replaced
section.
by this.
But also, but later on, the 10 years is.
No, I'm asking in section F, under what should be
That would be
section 3.
removed.
Do we want the 10 years to be referenced here? Do we want this
No.
bridge, after its repairs, to be certified for a life of at least 10 years?
No, because I think that the process we're trying to describe is going to forestall the possibility that at the end of the process, that determination could be made, that we're trying to build into the process a greater degree of success, so that we don't have to, at the end of the construction, possibly renege.
Okay,
So
so
it
then
sounds
we're,
like you want, sorry, I didn't mean to
so we're going to strike from section F, the sentence that says, as noted above, in the event the engineering report fails to certify probable useful life expectancy of at least 10 years or other material, like that whole,
It sounds like we wanna strike
striking that
section
out?
Mm-hmm.
So make a motion to strike section F.
No, not all of section F, just the section that's, the sentence that begins as noted above.
As noted
But
above.
leave
As
the
noted
rest of
above.
it.
To be undertaken and expressed on the city's agreement.
Yeah, to accept repairs.
Okay, so let's try to read the whole thing. Elizabeth, you think you could do that?
Or it just, basically, the city acknowledges that the district's performance of the repairs specified section 2 will be undertaken in express reliance on the city's agreement to accept the title of the footbridge upon completion of the repairs and satisfactory engineer certification.
Yes, and then
Then
terminate
terminate the
terminate the
rest
sentence, right there.
Right there.
Yep,
Okay.
all right, so we're gonna strike that out, because it's no longer relevant.
Thank you. Thanks for all this cooperation, council. All right, so do you need a restatement of the amendment?
All of them.
Is your head spinning?
Please read
Sorry.
all of,
The changes,
subsection
modifications.
2,
Right.
footbridge repairs by
All right.
districts.
Elizabeth, can you do it, or you want me to?
You're
do
gonna
it?
have to, because I didn't
Okay.
keep track of this.
All right, I think I've got it.
I can do it,
All right,
Michelle.
okay.
The change that
Do
you
the
made
motion to
is,
amend section
Okay.
2.
They're gonna read through to make sure they're all on the same page.
Oh, okay, but that's what I'm saying, when you start, you need to
Yeah,
say
so we
motion to
start.
amend section,
Okay, I'll
whatever.
make a motion to amend section 2 of this agreement.
I say,
To insert after.
the amendment will read as follows. City personnel or representatives
Will be included.
Can you read all
Will-
of that
Yeah, I
section?
think we want
Yes,
the whole
I
section.
think that's better.
read the whole section, okay.
From the city, the Plattsburgh
Okay,
City School
yes,
District shall.
absolutely. The entire section will now read, footbridge repairs by district. The changes do not have the last two sentences, so
We have to read the whole section.
we will
because
read
it's
the
not
whole
gonna be
thing,
clear.
Beth, but I just
need
wanted to
who was
let
the
you know,
second on that?
you don't have to
That's
copy
all,
this
okay.
entire thing.
Yeah.
Most of it is already there.
Yeah, you just have to tell me. So I'm only doing this for the record.
Mhm.
Okay.
For 20 years down the road that somebody has a full change that
Yes.
you want to make.
So I made a
Correct.
motion on the amendment.
Yep.
And I say,
Seconded by Edsel.
Sure.
Insel seconded. Okay, the Plattsburgh City School District shall, at no cost to the city of Plattsburgh, retain appropriate contractors to perform and complete such repairs to the footbridge as may be necessary to remediate the conditions identified in the inspections and reports prepared by MJ Engineering and Land Surveying, PC, and BCA Architects and Engineers in September 2017 and November 2017, respectively. In the event that the footbridge has further deteriorated since the fall of 2017, the district shall perform and complete such other necessary repairs. Upon the completion of such necessary repairs, the district shall provide a written certification to the city from its contractors and engineers.
I honestly think that this was
That
to have
sentence
been,
needs to go.
this should have been inserted after necessary repairs.
I agree.
Okay,
Alright.
you did not say that, Rochelle, at least I don't think you did, so
I
we'll
did.
strike it.
I said, after the district shall perform and complete such other
Okay.
necessary repairs, you would insert
Okay,
city.
strike that last sentence then.
Upon the completion of necessary repairs.
Yes, if you'd like, I'll read it again.
Yep.
Okay. The Plattsburgh City School District shall, at no cost to the city of Plattsburgh, retain appropriate contractors to perform and complete such repairs to the footbridge as may be necessary to remediate the conditions identified in the inspections and reports prepared by MJ Engineering and Land Surveying PC and BCA Architects and Engineers in September 2017 and November 2017 respectively. In the event that the footbridge has further deteriorated since the fall of 2017, the district shall perform and complete such other necessary repairs.
That's where you start.
City personnel and representatives will be included in the design and construction phase of repair. These professional services paid for out of DASNY funds. Upon completion, the bridge will be inspected and certified by district engineers. During the process, during the process, in the event of planning and repairs, the bridge is found irreparable, either or both parties can terminate this agreement.
And then you're amending section 3.
And then we need an amendment.
And then the last sentence in
Okay.
section,
Take it.
the last
So,
section.
I'll make a
the last
motion.
sentence.
No, it's still on the same
Still-
motion, you're just gonna amend that now, right, Dee? You can
Okay.
amend this.
So
Section 3, Section F.
So should I continue reading? The city acknowledges that the district's performance of the repairs specified in section 2 will be undertaken in express reliance on the city's agreement to accept title to the footbridge upon completion of the repairs and satisfactory engineer certification.
And also want to change the Roman numeral in front of transfer of ownership
Yeah,
from
to
2 to
three.
3.
To 3.
The rest of the sentences, everything else in that section.
Yes,
Is out.
everything
Strike
else
it.
is fine. Yes, and strike everything else in F.
And then I need that document. So you just-
Okay.
So now we have the motion to amend.
Okay, so
All
we.
in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Any further discussion on the item itself? Roll call?
I had one question that remains unanswered, and that is our relationship, or the school district's relationship to NYSEG. And some of the documentation we received, it describes that NYSEG was to be given the right of first refusal to take possession of the bridge. Have they been offered the bridge? Does anyone know?
In the license I read, it said they had an option to purchase the bridge, but the city would be given the right of first refusal to purchase the bridge.
The city would be given the right of refusal.
If I remember correctly,
First
from the
right of
1996 license agreement between the school board and NYSEG, that's how I remember. I don't have any of my documents in front of me, but
I may. Let's see.
Did this come up at the Billy Jones Betty Little meeting?
No.
No, I don't think that we need to worry about it.
In any event, there's language saying that if there is any encumbrance, lien, or other cloud on title, which open right of first refusal or unsatisfied option would entail, that would not be a clean title that they could transfer.
That is elsewhere in this proposal, Dean?
Yep.
Okay, okay, thank you.
does anyone have any other concerns about this resolution offer to the school district?
Roll call?
Again, I think it needs to, as Dean said, this is just kind of it's almost like an offer, counter offer
Right.
type.
Oh, I do have something here to share with you, Patrick, since you asked. The parties understand that the school district has a 25-year easement from the state of New York. Oh, no, that has to do with the state, not with NYSEG.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that mentions the 1983 easement, I believe.
And we've covered
Which is addressed.
The easement.
Okay. Okay.
All hail compromise. Thank you very much.
Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common, oh, wait a second, that was just for the amendment.
Yes, it was.
Oh, you're right.
Well, the amendment was passed. So that
We
was-
said,
Yeah, we did pass the amendment. This-
Oh,
that was-
sorry. Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves environmental manager John Ruff to attend 2019 American Water Works Association Conference from April 16th through 18th, 2019 in Saratoga, New York. The estimated cost is $950.
Moved by Counselor Ensel, second by Counselor Kelly. Discussion? Roll call?
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor McFarland?
Yes.
Counselor Moore?
Yes.
Are there any items for initial consideration tonight? Any new business or additional council reports?
Yes, I have a question. I wonder if I could, it doesn't have to be tonight, or I don't know, but I wonder maybe by next week I could get an update on, the Falcon Seaboard, and specifically the legal costs associated therewith.
Next week, you said?
Yeah.
I was struck, I think.
I just had another question. How do we stand, I don't know, Jeff, how we stand with the formation of that committee?
I think we've stopped taking applications, so we just have to review it. I think they're gonna be selected by the governance committee, I believe.
Okay.
How many applications have we got?
We got 14, I think.
Community members?
Yep. Well, I think that's counting the 2 students that
Okay.
applied,
Okay, so will that be, Rochelle, will that be announced at the next, selected for the next governance committee?
I was paying attention to something else.
Okay, I'm sorry, I asked about the formation of the committee.
Yes, I mean,
I think
Patrick's on the committee and we will discuss those ideas.
Okay, great, thank
Yeah,
you.
I think that the deadline for applications is passed, it was this last
Okay,
Friday.
I forwarded one, I don't know, I got one emailed to me, I forwarded to everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This time I'll ask the public to please come address the council on any issues of mutual concern.
Some more. I had a question about what you just got done discussing, and you took the 10 years out, and I want to make sure I understand. You changed it to, you're saying you're agreeing that if it's irreparable, that the deal's done. But you're taking away a guarantee of 10 years. What if they fix it and say it's good for 2 years or 5 years? Like, I think you should at least be guaranteed some amount of years to come out of that thing. It's a big rust bucket. And I think you've, done more than enough to reach out to the school board. And I think that having some years of guarantee, rather than just saying it's repairable or not, is a safeguard for the city, So it's just a thought. I don't think you should have took that out.
That's it.
Any other additional public comments on any issue of mutual concern?
May I comment on Sue Moore's comment here?
Yep, please.
I think the 10 years was a safeguard for us to get some kind of assurance we would get a useful life out of that bridge. But the real purpose in my mind was to give the city time to start planning for its eventual demolition or replacement. So that I hope when we develop our budget this year, we will set aside an amount of money to do either demolition or replacement. And we will continue to build that fund each and every year going forward. And hopefully we won't need that money, in which case we could turn it into a general infrastructure repair fund that we could use for any of the city's infrastructure. As you know, the infrastructure of many of our facilities is aging, and some of them have severe problems. So if the money is not used for the bridge, then it could be used for other projects to repair our infrastructure. In fact, we should always have an infrastructure repair fund.
Reserve, right?
Reserve, yes, yes. So something to keep in mind. And I appreciate Ms. Moore's comment because it reminded me of that.
When I was calculating, the $65,000 that we will get to be put in reserve, I don't know how to calculate the interest specifically, but
It's not much.
it's not, okay, what is the prevailing rate?
Probably, I think we'd be lucky to get 3% count.
I calculated it on
Did you say 3%?
2% on deposits, and what about reserve accounts? What do we currently draw on our reserves?
We're going to be trying to create a fund to earn about 2% on the reserve rate.
I mean, when you think about that, that's not even $2,000 a year. That's about $1,200 a year.
But calculating at 3% for 10 years, I think I got 40,000, but I'm not sure. No. 220. Okay.
And I also think that when the time comes to either replace or demolish, it should be done in the form of a referendum so that the entire public has the opportunity to decide what to do.
And I think that could be applicable to many of the bond issues that we consider.
Absolutely.
Well, and those are two very different things, replacing and demolishing. I mean, my understanding with demolishing, that's the 62.5. That's half of what the estimated cost of demolishing, about $125,000
not later.
for demolishing. So with the time value of money, hopefully it would work out. Maybe not with a 2% interest rate, but my understanding is that's where that number 62.5 came up from.
Well, I mean,
the bridge was made in 1980, with costing $500,000, made entirely from grants, as I understand it. And now, I mean, the repairs are going to cost around $500,000. So I have no doubt, if the bridge lasts 10, 15, 20 years, however long it lasts, that
it'll need to be demolished.
The bridge is going to be far more expensive. I don't know what $500,000 in 1983 dollars is today, but I imagine it's quite significantly higher, and especially quite significantly higher than $125,000 in 2019 dollars 10 years from now. So that's I don't think we want to commit ourselves to replacing the bridge. It was built with grant funds, mostly from the state. It was repaired with grant funds, mostly from the state. A lot of what we're agreeing to do is extend destruction of the bridge because our state representatives have been so helpful to us in coming up with this money. So we want to bend over backwards to use that to put off destruction of the bridge for 10, 15 years. If we can get more funds in the future from the state to replace it, that'd be great. But if we start saving to replace the bridge now, that would be a huge financial.
But this is
just
where
hope that
we
that's
can.
a decision that far exceeds all of our terms.
Keep in mind that if we had to make that decision today, replace or demolish, we would have no choice but to demolish. That's all the money we could possibly
unless the state came up with some money
today.
But here's the thing: we need.
But if we plan if we plan for its eventual demolition or replacement, I think it really just depends. That decision depends on what funding we have. If we have a healthy fund balance and our reserve for infrastructure, as I described, is healthy and large enough, we could replace the bridge. But if it's small, we'll probably end up demolishing. If I don't like to look too far into the future, but if I had to look into the future of that bridge, I would almost guess that it will be demolished at some point. I just don't see us being able to replace it.
Yeah. On the other hand, I think that what we plan for fiscally is also dependent upon what we arrive at in terms of a vision for our community. And I would hope that we would be planning for a future where there would be greater walkability, greater number of bike paths, and that we would increase that kind of multimodality in our transportation plans. And I remain hopeful that like the Saranac River Trail will continue to thrive and expand, and that at some point in the future, if this bridge was deemed to be, as it already is, a significant leg in that trail, that we would have sources of funding upon which to draw for our future vision of what that should be.
Oh yeah, and I like the idea of planning for infrastructure. Even if we replace the bridge, we're gonna have to demolish the current bridge.
Yeah.
So I do think we should start planning for funding the eventual demolishment of the bridge. And I do agree with you that a lot of what the city's doing, even between the streetscape, or parking plan, is gonna have is gonna be encouraging walkability, bike usage. So the bridge is an asset in that regard. So I do like the vision looking for the future on that.
All good thinking, thank you.
Motion removed.
Moved by Councilor Moore, second by Councilor Renzel. Roll call.
Councilor Armstrong?
Yes.
Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Councilor Gibbs?
Yes.
Councilor Renzel?
Yes.
Councilor McFarland?
Yes.
Councilor Moore?
Yes.
Thank you all for coming tonight.
Mayor, we need to sign the rest of the-
There you go.
Feel better, Mike.
Thank you.
You all send your POs down, please.
Didn't I just go for it?
Can you pass that?
Yeah.
Steph, POs, please.
Essentially, so it's an offer.
No, I'm not even working.
But it kind of sets the framework for what that agreement will look like, and it's intended to avoid kind of unnecessary back and forth while you're signing stuff, talking in two different directions. So, yeah, I mean, I expect. That's the corrected one. Maybe amendments based on that.
I do that in court all the time. Turn to silence and then like that.